So we are going to take a look at some of the more frequently missed problems on Chapter 8, Test, Form B, and we're looking at the extended response items. And the first one I would like to take a look at is problem number 2. And in problem number 2, we have this really super cool right triangle that has an altitude drawn. And we're being asked to find the area of that altitude, or sorry, the area of that triangle. Now, there are a couple things we need to understand, or more to the point, remember. So I'm going to draw this triangle without any labels. I'm going to pull it out here for a second, and I'm just going to, that would be the, there we go. And let's talk about some relationships we have here. So we know this is our right angle, we know this is a right angle. Let's call this A, let's call this B. Let's call this H, let's call this X, let's call this Y, and we'll call this entire side C. Kind of like the Pythagorean theorem problem. So we have learned that the height squared is going to be equal to the product of the two sides. That is the geometric mean of the two sides. We also have learned that a squared is going to equal the opposite side length, in this case x, times this whole c value. And we also know, using the same logic, that b squared is going to be equal to y times c. So those are the pieces that we are going to be using to solve this problem, hopefully successfully. So I don't know this distance here, so I'm going to use k, the best letter in the alphabet, which makes this whole side length k plus 15. So let's get going. With this, I can now find the value of k, because I have a side length and this side length, leaving me with just one unknown. So this means that 5 times the square root of 21 squared must equal 15 times k plus 15. So 5 squared is 25, 25 times 21. I'm making the assumption that you're able to do this piece. I'm not going to explain it. So we have 525 is equal to 15k plus 225. So minus 225 minus 225. And so I get 300 is equal to 15k. Divide by 15, divide by 15, and I get k is equal to 20. Yay! So that means this side length here is 20. I'm going to update my drawings and get rid of this scrawl. I don't want to get rid of that quite yet. So we know that I am not able to pull out an eraser. We know that k, or this side length, is 20, which makes this whole thing 35. Now, to find the area of a triangle, I need base times height, and height is the altitude, the perpendicular distance from the base to the top. So I need to find this distance, and luckily we have a relationship that's going to help. So we know that the height squared is going to be equal to 20 times 15. Well, 20 times 15 is 300. You probably saw that one coming. And now I'm going to take the squirt of it, and so I get the height is equal to 17.32. But wait! I can't use a decimal. It says simplest radical form. So we have h is equal to the square root of 300. Well, I know this can be broken down into the square root of 100 times the square root of 3. The square root of 100 is 10. So we have 10 root 3. Let's add this to the drawing. 10 root 3. So now let's find the area of the triangle. Well, we have 35 times 10. 350, you think? Oh yeah. So we get 350 root 3. But don't forget, the area of a triangle has to be divided by 2. So you have to do base times height divided by 2. When you divide by 2, you get 175 root 3. The next problem that I would like to dazzle you with mathematical brilliance is problem number 8. Now, I went to college in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, so I am very familiar with the incline that goes up from the south side of Pittsburgh along the Monongahela River. It's actually kind of a cool area of Pittsburgh, if there is to be a cool area of Pittsburgh. Not my favorite place to live, but I manage. So we know that the incline has a grade of 78%. That is very, very steep. And to remind you, when we're finding the grade of a hill, we are looking at the rise over the run. We're looking for that proportion. And that means that a 100% grade, the rise over the run is equal to 1. In other words, the rise and the run are the same thing. Here, we don't have a 45, it'd be a 45-degree angle. Here, we have a rise of 78 over a run of 100, and because that is a 78%. So, we want to find this angle, and we know that the tangent is the tangent of angle theta is equal to the opposite over the adjacent, which means we have 78 over the adjacent 100. And so now we need to find the arctangent, and I'm going to walk over to my handy dandy, not so helpful at times cell phone, which luckily has a calculator attached to it. Can you imagine having to go through this by hand and using a book table? So what I'm doing is I'm going to go 78 divided by 100, and I get 0.78. Shocking. And I'm going to do the arctangent, and I get an angle that is 37.954. And it says, if necessary, round to the nearest degree. Well, that's 38 degrees. So again, in my calculator, I just did, I did 0.78, and then I hit the button that looked like this. And voila! I got my answer. Now I will do another video for the problems on the back of the sheet that will give people problems.